since it won't show us there. Although I think it did last time, yeah.
Well, it did, but it wasn't consistent.
Yeah, we'll wait a few minutes anyways,
All
because
right.
I came out of it early intentionally.
You did.
Yeah, I usually do. And then we'll see what happens. At least till we see if somebody signs on. Well, we have one viewer, two viewers.
Mm-hmm.
When you're there, say hello. If you watch the replay, as always, let us know you watch the replay. Uh, we're just going to give it a few minutes, at least right until 3 o'clock before we start. And yeah, so as you're piling in, let us know who you are. Say hello. I believe we have 4 now. 5.
And as this is coffee time, grab a coffee.
And if you want, grab a coffee, grab a tea. I have a tea today. Grab a tea, grab a water, grab a protein shake.
I had a coffee protein shake earlier today.
It's weird that nothing comes up here.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been doing that for months now.
Yeah, no, it's just still weird because it just happened. Oh, there's, hey, Nicole. Hey.
Well, it doesn't help that your computer's like 30 years old.
Hey, Sam. Good time for a coffee. Totally. Hey, Bobby Joe. I see you're watching too. Say hello. Today we're going to talk about well, the title of the live is why women need more challenge in their lives. And then I put underneath as a description, get out of your comfort zone, do the harder thing, and basically stack more proof. So that's kind of what the whole gist of this live is going to be today. And just to give you a little bit of backstory, so Kevin and I often talk about random stuff that comes up when we're on a walk. So one morning, geez, that was about a month ago,
A
yeah.
good solid month ago. Yeah.
We were talking about things, and we got on the topic of how not just women, but people in general don't maybe challenge themselves enough to do little things. It's not even taking on drastic challenges. It's just getting out of your comfort zone and doing something that could help you grow as a person, could help you take more power back into the things that you struggle with, and could challenge you in ways that would help you overcome some of the things that you consider as just naturally part of who you are. Like a lot of the things that I hear a lot of time from women who reach out to me for help or who inquire about my coaching or who just have general questions is I'm just so all or nothing. I'm just a perfectionist. I just not good at the weekends. What's other examples? Getting protein is just so hard. Hitting the fiber is just so hard. I really struggle with food. I'm just addicted to sugar. I mean, I have an addiction to the scale. I could go on and on and on, and I could be here for days and days and days explaining or talking about some of the things that I hear on a daily basis that they're valid things that could be really holding you back. But a lot of times it's the language that you're using around those things and the fact that you're not challenging yourself to avoid the thing. You're using avoidance as a coping mechanism as opposed to challenging yourselves to disrupt the, what's the word I would look for here? The thought processes, I guess, or the autopilot responses that you have to certain things.
Right.
Anyway, we're going to get into that today.
Yep.
Right now, I'm just, what time is it? Oh, it's 3:02. We can probably start.
Yep.
I'm just going to see if there's any more. So what I want to start with this first before we get in. Do you want to start?
No.
I just want to say that if there's any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that that comes up while we're talking, please put them in the comments. For some reason, the comments don't come up on my computer anymore. That's why I have my phone. So you'll see me sometimes looking down at the phone because I want to make sure that we're staying on top of saying hello to people who join and saying, keeping on top of anything that comes up. We won't answer questions as we're talking, but we will go back through them at the end just to make sure we hit everything and we don't miss anything. If you watch the replay and you have a question, a comment, or concern or anything like that after you watch the replay and we're already done, feel free to comment on the live video itself, and myself or Kevin will certainly, or I guess myself, I will reach out and I will respond. Outside of that, do you want to start?
Well, basically, we're just going to start with like being in the business that we're in. We often see women who say they want change, but they're not necessarily willing to challenge themselves to change. And I know that's can be a lot to unpack. And and I think the gist of this conversation that we're going to have today is to understand why challenging yourself actually matters.
Oh, yeah.
I guess the biggest thing that might prevent somebody from challenging themselves is because comfort or where they're at feels safe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And challenging themselves can take them out of that comfort level. And some people just aren't necessarily ready for that. They often we hear that they're ready, they want change, they talk that they want change, but when it's time to put up or shut up, so to speak, is how I'd say it, there's resistance there.
I think that I read this quote, or I read this somewhere recently. Your comfort zone is your cage. Your comfort zone is like a trap. And what happens, I think, and I was talking to my clients about this today in the coaching call briefly, is that I think it's very easy for us as individuals, because we are, as human beings, not really great at self-awareness, at seeing the things we do and don't do and why we do them, because we do a lot of things on autopilot. We don't really think about what we do or the things we say and how it has an impact on our lives, on our goals, on our dreams, on what we want, what we aspire to achieve. And I think that because everything runs on, or a lot of things run on autopilot, it's like it's predictable.
Right.
And it's like, well, okay, this is just what I do. And then instead of digging into why you potentially do that, or what could be preventing you from doing the thing that you want that aligns with your values or your goals or where you want to go, we people just have tendencies to say, well, that's just who I am.
Right.
And because of that, anything that steps out of that feels so uncomfortable and so unfamiliar that we just assume we're not made for it, or we're not meant for it, rather than the aha moment should be, this is uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean I can't do it. It's just because it's uncomfortable. It's not something I normally do. It's unfamiliar to me, and therefore it makes me feel uncomfortable. But that isn't proof that I can't do it. That's just proof that I don't do this normally.
Right. And that level of stagnation makes you feel like you're stuck.
Right.
So you tell yourself that you're stuck. So you just keep repeating that narrative, and using that as the excuse, and it becomes very debilitating.
Yes, right? And something that I tell my clients right from the get-go, actually my current 6-week clients just had the kickoff on Saturday past for the kickoff for the 6-week. And one of the very first things that I say to all of my new clients and all of my clients as they go through the processes with me is that change can't happen without change. If you are not willing to change something, anything, you won't see change, because change is impossible unless you create some sort of change compared to what you're doing now. Because if what you're doing now was working, you would be where you want it to be, and you wouldn't be stuck, and you wouldn't be feeling stagnation, so to speak.
Right.
So what am I trying to say, I guess? If you never lean into discomfort, if you never lean into challenge, if you never lean into the unfamiliar, you're going to stay stuck, and you're not going to see any growth, but the biggest part of that, I feel like, and again, something that I teach my clients, is that if you don't lean into those things, you don't stack any proof of how strong you are, how capable you are, how all things are possible for you, and that you hold the power. And if you don't lean into the hard and lean into the uncomfortable, it's impossible to make any sort of change, because you automatically believe you can't do it.
Right. You don't get to realize your potential.
Yes, Exactly.
If you don't lean into it and test the waters and try, and just dabble in, it's no different than this last workout program we done. We're done now. Today this is our last week, and today was our last day of deadlifts. Well, we really increased our strength from the time we started till the time we finished, and that was based on challenging ourselves to see what we could really get away with, right? And sometimes that can surprise you. Like, for you and I both know we used to deadlift a lot way back when. And I'm talking like back in 2013, 2012, something like that. 2013 is when I got my PR. And so when I went back into deadlifts now, like 200 pounds felt like a lot for the longest time. And it took probably 4 weeks of doing a 16-week program before we actually started stacking on more weight and challenging to see what that felt like. Because so you can kind of relate a little bit, whereby in the beginning there was trepidation because we hadn't done it in so long. It's like, okay, what can we get away with? And so for the 4 weeks, at the end of the 4 weeks, what we had on the bar felt really comfortable and good. It was like, okay, well, I'm not in the mood for the workout today, so I'm just going to stick with that because at least I know I can get that done.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that, so this is something else that I think, because Nicole brings up a good point here when she says these are things that end up feeling so good when you do them, because you have all this doubt that you can do them. You have all of these. So a really good example is actually when I spoke at Nicole's event last year. I was like literally shitting in my pants.
Literally.
Because, well, nearly.
I hope it was figuratively,
well,
not
yes,
literally.
because I had on big pants. Figuratively shitting in my pants. Like I was freaking out because I shouldn't say that I haven't done any public speaking. I have done public speaking, but I don't necessarily feel comfortable doing public speaking, and it always freaks me out. So anyway, I went into it. I did it. Nicole and I talked actually before, and she was also freaking out because she was putting on this event and she wanted it to go well. And the thing is that when you do the hard thing that you weren't sure you could do, or you didn't think it was going to go well, and even if you can improve, because I know for sure that my public speaking can improve, it just felt so good to do the hard thing, to show up for the thing that you were freaking out over, that you were nervous about, but yet, and you were telling yourself, I'm probably not going to do that great, and yada, yada. And I think that it could definitely have been improved, but I also don't think it was that bad. So this is something else that I think people get confused. They look at people who do harder things a lot and they think that they come natural. And trust me when I say that they do not come natural. The harder things don't come natural to me, even though I've been practicing harder things for a long time. I'm sure Nicole would tell you that harder things don't come natural to her, but I know for a fact that she's been practicing harder things for a long time. I know that some of my clients, they do harder things. They don't come natural. But the more you do harder things, and I'm not talking about like way out there harder things either.
I'm just hardcore.
No, I'm not. I'm not talking about hardcore. I'm just talking about maybe you decide to show up for your protein every day. And that might be hard for you right now, but at the end of X amount of days, that'll feel easy. And this is the thing. It's like stacking proof that you can do it. And I always call it stacking proof or stacking wins or whatever you want to call it, because the more proof you have behind you that you can do the harder thing, whatever the harder thing is for you, that's when you start to understand that, okay, this other thing that I want to do, like run a 5K maybe, or lift X amount of weight on my deadlift, or do public speaking, or fly a plane, or whatever, I can do these things because I've done other hard things. And while it'll still be uncomfortable when I start to do it, and when I engage in it and agree to do it, but I'm still going to be able to do it because I've stacked a ton of proof that says that I can do hard things, and I've overcome all the other hard things that have come up in my life. They're not comfortable, they're not familiar, but I've done it. And I think that's an important thing. It doesn't come natural to anybody, even though it looks like it does to some people.
Well, I think, and basically, like you say here, it's like the stacking proof builds confidence, and it rewrites your identity.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right? Mm-hmm. It rewrites your identity. You now can identify with somebody who does the hard things, and you can also, it's like once you did the Spartan sprint, then you did the super, and then you did the beast, and then the beast, right? Like when you first looked at training for the Spartan sprint, and you at some point you wanted to do the beast, You were like, I'm not a person who can do the beast. I can't do that. It's just no way. And then, but you did the sprint, and that was fun. And because it was fun, it was, okay. It then inspired you to want to do the super.
Mm-hmm.
The super, the super was enough. It took a lot out of you. And then you realized, you know what? If I can do that, I can do the beast. Because basically, the beast was only half again more. So it rewrote your thought patterns. It rewrote who you identified yourself as. Originally, somebody you saw yourself as somebody who couldn't do it. Period.
Right.
To the point where that's your next goal.
I think that
and you did the trifecta all in 1 year. So,
I think that there have been a lot of things in my life, and I'm sure in everybody's watching and in yours, where you automatically think you can't do that, right?
Well,
like
especially
you didn't
if you
think,
haven't. If you haven't done it before.
yeah. And this can apply to literally anything,
Mhm.
jobs, anything that you want to do, relationships, maybe sometimes, building a house, buying, all of the things, going to the gym, et cetera, et cetera. But here's something that I want to, because this is what we talked about on the walk. And, you can look at it in a context of big things, like things that are like say public speaking or flying a plane or big things. But then you can really look at it, because I think that the problem a lot of women face when it comes to what we do, like fat loss, lifestyle change, mindset change, taking your power back, is that instead of meeting yourself where you are, you're trying to meet yourself 100 steps ahead of where you are. And the challenge then is fine. It's a challenge, but it's not ever going to be sustainable. Whereas if you look at where you are and you look at what am I struggling with that is within the realm of what I can actually physically take on right now, and challenge yourself to do it for 30 days or 45 days. And what we were talking about on the walk that day is what we don't understand is why people don't step back and ask themselves, okay, I'm struggling with X. For instance, I'm struggling with tracking calories, or I'm struggling with staying within my deficit, or I'm struggling with hitting my protein target. I'm struggling with hitting my fiber. I'm struggling with hitting 7,000 steps a day. I don't care what it is. I'm struggling to hit 3 workouts a week. Doesn't matter. What is wrong, really, truly, with setting yourself a small goal that meets you where you are? So for instance, if you're struggling to hit 3 workouts a week, you're going to say, for the next 4 weeks, I'm going to commit, no matter what, come hell or high water, unless I'm sick or something drastic happens, to showing up for 3 workouts a week for 4 weeks. That then stacks proof, number one, that you can do it, and number two, that now you can add on another 4 weeks. It keeps it small enough that it's realistic and you don't go into overwhelm in your mind. And it also is only 3 workouts a week. And if you're doing my workouts are only like 35 to 40 minutes each. And it's also then, again, stacking that proof that you can do it. Another really good example would be steps, or it could be just simply tracking your calories. A lot of people resist tracking their calories. Oh my God, that's not for me. It's too much time, yada, yada, yada. But they never even did it, or they never even tried it, or they're not putting any effort into it. You can't say something's hard if you never try to do it, or if you're not putting any effort into do it. It's not hard to hit 120 to 150 grams of protein a day unless you tell yourself it is. And if you consistently tell yourself it is, everything is fucking hard.
Right.
So I think that it's this is what we were talking about that day. And it literally doesn't have to be any of that. It could be drinking water, 2 liters of water every day. I don't care what it is. But I don't think that we as human beings, find it super easy to just say it's too hard. To find it super easy to complain about the things that we're not achieving, even though we say how bad we want them, how motivated we are to get them, how much it would change our lives if we did X. You would be astonished if you saw the messages that I get about how the women that I'm speaking to are so feeling. It almost makes me want to cry when they tell me how badly they feel in their skin, how their life looks in terms of what they do and don't do with their families, et cetera, et cetera. And yet, when I approach them with, even just some small, simple solutions, their automatic reply is, I can't do that. It's too hard. I can't do that. Yeah. So this is why it's important to challenge yourself inside your life, to challenge yourself a little bit more while meeting yourself where you are. That's the point that I want to get across. It's not about going hardcore. It's not about eliminating all the shit. It's not about doing all the hardcore stuff, going 7 days a week where you have to work out. Meet yourself where you are, but challenge yourself with something. If you're not struggling, you don't need to do it. But if you're struggling right now, and if you're watching this and you're like, I haven't worked out an X number of days, but I really want to get back to it. Or I haven't tracked my calories and I want to lose fat loss and I want fat loss, or I'm telling myself that getting the protein is too hard, or I haven't drank water. Just fucking tackle something. Take something on, commit to it for 30 days. And I am willing to bet that if you message me at the end of this 30 days, when you commit and you fully commit, you will feel isn't even about the task. This is about how much better you will feel about yourself and the proof that you will have stacked that you can do it. Sorry, keep moving on.
No, that's okay. Well, you kind of already went through it in a way. Like you said, avoiding challenges keeps you stuck, or as you put it, small. And small in terms of, we talk about it in our own context, in business, and small in terms of growth. So, like you say, if people don't challenge themselves, they can still achieve results. They can still do things. They can still get from point A to point B. It's going to be a very, very long and arduous process if you don't challenge yourself to see if you can do better, do more, and things like that. And that's kind of what you just talked about there. So I think that kind of takes care of that. I'm just looking here.
We have notes. That's why Kevin keeps looking over there.
Yeah.
Just so you're
see,
aware.
okay. So we're gonna get real here for a minute with these notes, because, as you know, she likes to talk, and there are certain things that I don't know. So we keep notes so that I can actually have something to say in the third. No, not really.
No, he's not. I know. I already know I have tendencies to ramble. But there's so many things that come up while we're chatting back and forth. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I should have said that.
Right.
And then I'm thinking about that while he's still talking. So then sometimes I go on and on and on. Whereas if we have notes and we have kind of like a guide of how we're going to go with this, he has certain things. Not that we plan what we're going to say, but he has certain things that he knows how to take the conversation forward, as opposed to being stuck, either me doing all the talking or he not really knowing a whole lot about the topic, and therefore it gets stuck.
Right.
But
so
I think we should touch on this thing here.
The small?
Yeah, just a little bit more in terms of, if you don't take on hard things, you keep proving to yourself the opposite, and that is that you can't handle hard things.
Right,
and I know we already kind of touched on it. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, that's just what I was going to say. So, like, the longer that you stay small,
right,
the
harder it is.
The harder it is, because the longer you stay small, everything that you try to do that's bigger, every time you try to do the harder thing, it just seems that much more insurmountable, because of the fact that look at.
Go ahead. You've always had the pattern of staying small.
You've always had the pattern.
You've always had the pattern of choosing that you can't do it.
That's right.
And then opting out. And this is something else that I teach my clients a lot, which is the thought process of there being no opt out. So if something is sustainable and something is realistic and something suits and meets you where you are, there should be no such thing as needing an opt out. If you are feeling so stuck and so tired and so unmotivated and so defeated and so living in shame, if you want to call it that, and so small and so uncomfortable with where you are, when you find something that feels sustainable, that can actually create change, that is realistic, that meets you where you are, there should be no fucking such thing as I'm giving up and I'm opting out. No such thing. Because every single time you quit on yourself, you teach yourself that you're not important. You teach yourself that you don't matter. You teach yourself that your goals, your dreams, your whatever is not as important as your kids' dreams or your husband's dreams or your parents. Doesn't matter, whoever's dreams. And then you start to resent everything. And then you also start to believe that, this is what I've always done again, so this is who I am. And I think that there's nothing more disempowering than that. Than just basically succumbing, to this is just
using big words.
This is just the way it is. And so, and as I said, I don't think that the challenges should be massive. I don't promote hardcore. I don't believe that taking on hardcore things is ever going to be the thing that helps you change in a sustainable, realistic way and keep it. Now, that's not to say that you don't grow into things. What you think is hardcore now might not be hardcore 2 months from now, because you will have grown as a person because of all the other things you've done. So you might be able to take on more, because where you are then will be meeting yourself where you are when you do things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Say it, will you?
No, but I guess so. This is the last point. And for me, the biggest thing with this topic is that, specifically when it comes to health and fitness,
Mhm.
everybody's always been taught that without hardcore, without no pain, no gain, without super restrictive diets, without cutting carbs and cutting this and cutting that, that you're not going to succeed.
Right. Okay, this
And
is good.
so for me, this is the biggest thing to teach people, is that, yeah, challenge yourself and this and that, do hard things, blah blah blah. But when people who have the mindset of go big or go home, the hard thing to them sounds like we're preaching hardcore. Sounds like you've got to
Right.
do it all or
And
don't
do
do
it
it all.
perfect.
And
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
Mhm.
So this is why a lot of people, in my opinion, stay small, because
Right.
the thing of it
Because
is
they
that,
see ripping the Band-Aid off and taking on something as, oh my God, I have to rearrange my entire fucking life today.
right, and
Yes.
now that, and it has to start today, and it has to be this big drastic
And
thing.
it has to be perfect, and I'm not perfect. So
Exactly.
yeah. So
Right.
why bother, kind of thing.
Right.
I agree with you. That's a good point. And I like how you explained it, because that's kind of what I was trying to get at in a roundabout way, that you explained it well. So I also want to touch on, because Kevin and I have tendencies, probably me first, and then Kevin eventually grows into the things that I decide to take on. But he's very open-minded to these things, which is always cool. So we have done and tackled, I would call it, a lot of hard things over the course of time. Like, we've never tackled 101 hard things at once. But like, for instance, just just recently in San Francisco, and I was actually quite surprised that Kevin was so open to it. So we started out in San Francisco, and whenever we're on vacation, we walk a lot, a shit ton, let's just say. And but
That's the understatement.
But Kevin was super open to, like, okay, let's make I think the challenge at first for us was that we were going to make sure that we hit 12,000 steps no matter what every day. And I was like, okay. And then it ended up being, most days ended up being 20,000 or more. And then this one day we decided, okay, we're going to leave our hotel. We're going to walk over to the San Francisco Bridge,
The Golden Gate Bridge.
the Golden Gate Bridge, sorry. And then we're going to, after we got there, we thought, okay, well, we're just going to walk home. So we ended up with over 40,000 steps that day. And I'm not bragging when we say it, but these are the challenges that we take on at our level now. But before, it was like, when I first started, before, it was literally just make sure I hit my calories and making sure I hit my protein. And then it was, I really want to challenge myself to be able to lift a 225-pound deadlift. Then it was, I really want to challenge myself to do a 200-pound squat, or, a 300-pound hip thrust. Like, these things sound, again, probably to some people listening, they sound really heavy and they sound really hardcore. But as I said, your level will increase. What I'm talking about here for you, especially if you're a beginner, or especially if you're somebody who feels stuck right now, is to evaluate what is holding you back most. More often than not, it's your language, it's your all or nothing thinking, it's your mindset. But I want you and this is literally, we are giving you a challenge. I want you to take on something that feels uncomfortable, but is not so far out of reach that you can't do it. So maybe you commit today, meeting yourself where you are, to, for the next 30 days, I'm going to hit 5,000 steps a day. It doesn't even have to be like it doesn't have to be drastic. But if you are already at 5,000 steps, maybe now you're going to shoot for 7, or you're going to shoot for 10. It doesn't matter to me what you choose. Maybe you're not hitting enough protein, so you're going to decide your challenge is going to be protein. Maybe it's going to be water. Maybe it's going to be small things like, I'm going to go for coffee with friends, and they're likely going to order something to eat, but I'm only going to have coffee because I don't want cookies and donuts and treats every single day of the week. Maybe right now you eat a lot of takeout, and you're going to challenge yourself to only do takeout once, twice, 3 times a week, depending on how many times you do it. Maybe right now you come home every day and you have a glass of wine or 2. Maybe you're going to challenge yourself to decrease that. It could be anything. Go for, like, literally Kevin and I have done it whereby we've challenged ourselves not to do any extra spending outside of our regular bills. We've done it where we haven't had takeout at all or eaten out at all for like 30 days or more. We've done things where we've gone to the movies and not ordered any food. We've done things where what's another good example, Chevy?
Well, the only challenge that I was thinking of was, and you say this all the time, and it's the biggest challenge of all.
Okay.
Why the fuck not me?
Or and this. So this is a saying that I use all the time with my clients, especially when somebody is struggling with a lot of self-doubt. I have them use this affirmation on repeat. Why the fuck not me? If she can do it, if he can do it, if my neighbor down the road or this guy that I know from Instagram can do it, why the fuck couldn't I do it? And when you have that on repeat, first of all, it drowns out the negative self-doubt that's telling you can't do it. And it's a very, and if you don't swear, don't use fuck, just use why the heck not me, or why not me, it doesn't matter. I put the fuck in there because to me, it's more powerful to me to say that. And it's a saying, it's actually a physical thing that I have said to myself on numerous occasions as I've gone through numerous things that are hard. So the challenge, I guess, is for you to take something that's difficult, that feels uncomfortable, that is, and do it to stack proof that you can, and keep it small, keep it realistic. But we're going to challenge you to do it. And I'm even going to encourage you, if you're open, and I will encourage and say that it is good for you to put it out there, to either speak it out loud or to type it. That's why I'm going to ask you that if you choose a challenge and you take this on, what we're asking you to do, put it in the comments. This is the challenge I'm taking on for the next X number of days, 30 days, 60 days, 45 days. I'm going to encourage you to keep the amount of days small, because it won't seem as overwhelming. If you take it on for 30 days and you do it for 30 days, you can always add on another 30 and keep going like that. It's about keeping it small and realistic so that you can meet yourself where you are, not 100 steps ahead of where you were, as 100 steps ahead where you feel you should be. Meet yourself where you are, and then commit to something that you are struggling with right now, but you would like to either get back into or start taking on. I'm just going to go through and look and see. That's it, yeah?
I think that's it, yeah. I'm
just going to look at the comments, make sure we didn't miss anything.
Yeah, I don't recall anything else that was.
I think that gets our point across. Okay, so what do we got? I'm just going to read through some of these. Already talked about Nicole's. And no, Tracy, you are correct. The rabbit hole is not a fun place to be, but the rabbit hole, you can only get out of the rabbit hole if, number one, you drown out or override the negative language keeping you in the rabbit hole. Because technically the rabbit hole only exists because of the language we use, and because we have so much self-doubt and we lack, and therefore when we get in a self-doubt rabbit hole, or we get ourselves into an internal negative internal language rabbit hole, we get stuck there. And then it's really hard to pull yourself out of that. That's why when you build on and choose something and take on something that can pull you out, your focus then gets away from the negative language and gets turned into, well, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm focused on. As long as I do this thing every day for X number of days, as I said I would, then there we go. You're welcome, Sam. You probably would have heard, Sam's in my current 6-week program, so you might have heard that eventually anyway, but you're already ahead of the game. Why the fuck not me? So anytime that you're doubting yourself, anytime that you're feeling like you're uncomfortable or this is too hard for me, use that saying and it'll pull yourself out. Well, ladies, thanks for watching. It's been nice to have you. We are going to head out and go for a walk.
So I think we have a good closing here.
Oh, okay.
So it says here that this is what you and I talked about. I really couldn't quite understand this at first, but I'm going to say it this way, and then you can see how it sits for you. The flex isn't doing things when they're easy. It's proving to yourself you can do them when they're hard. Challenge is what builds strength, belief, resilience, and self-trust.
So something else that I just want to really briefly touch on, and I won't keep you much longer. I'm just going to briefly, promise, touch on this. One of the reasons why I talk about so much of this stuff inside my coaching with my clients and inside of most of my social media is that what the goal is as a coach, at least for me, is to help my clients develop enough self-awareness to be able to recognize the things that they say to themselves that keep themselves stuck, to able to recognize their self-doubt and how it's just the language that they're using or the internal beliefs that they've held for so long, and that they hold the power to overcome those things. So when you have self-awareness, more self-awareness, and you can see things and patterns that you do or don't do, then you can start to look at where your resistances lie and are they actually valid? More often than not, they're not valid. So when they're not valid, then you can start to overcome them by doing the harder thing and stacking proof. And when you stack proof, that's how you actually create more self-belief, more self-confidence, and more self-trust. Nobody is technically born with those things. We practice them, and that's how we build them. That's how we create them. So we're just going to leave you with that.
Very good. Because I was wondering where that was going.
Okay.
Like how many engines are on that train?
All right. Don't forget the challenge. We want to see your comments and see what you've taken on in the comments. And if you watch the replay, that applies to you as well. Okay. All the best. Adios.